There's a very specific kind of comfort we get from standard career advice.
Hmm.
It's always wrapped in these like soft, expansive metaphors. Life is a marathon, not a sprint.
Oh, yeah. It's never too late.
Everyone is on their own timeline. It's nice. It makes you feel like you can breathe.
It's designed to lower your cortisol. It's
Yeah.
absolutely designed to keep you calm. But the problem with being calm is that, well, you don't move fast.
Exactly. And today, we are doing the complete opposite of calming you down. We are looking at a transcript from a video by the channel The Hidden Self, and I have to say, this is one of the most aggressive pieces of content we've ever covered.
Hmm.
It's not a motivational speech. It's more like a structural analysis of why people fail.
I'd call it a forensic analysis of wasted time.
That's a good way to put it, because
Right.
the core premise here is that the marathon idea is a lie. The source argues you do not have a lifetime to figure things out.
Yep.
You have a window,
A golden window.
and it is exactly 15 years long.
Right. And to be really specific, the source delineates this window as the years between age 23 and age 38. The argument is that this isn't just a good time to build your life.
Mhm.
It is effectively the only time.
The only time.
And if you haven't secured your financial foundation, your character, by age 38, the door doesn't just close softly. It slams shut and locks from the outside.
Which is a terrifying thought for anyone approaching that number or anyone who has already passed it.
Sure.
So our mission today is to really stress test this theory. We need to figure out if this is just internet fear-mongering or if there is, actual biological and sociological data that supports this hard deadline.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to look at the parental tax, the specific mechanics of the YOLO trap, and why the source claims that dignity is basically a synonym for solvency.
It's going to be a heavy deep dive, but I think it's necessary. We need to strip away some of the fluff.
Okay, let's start with the parameters. Why 23 to 38? 23 makes sense. You're out of university, maybe starting your first real job. But 38, that feels oddly specific.
It does.
Why not 40? Why not 45?
It feels arbitrary until you look at the physiology. The source leans really heavily on the biological reality of the human body. This isn't about how you feel. It's about what your body can metabolize.
Yeah, okay.
This 15-year window, it represents the absolute peak of your physiological resilience.
Resilience in what sense? Just energy.
Recovery time. That's the Q metric the source focuses on. Between 23 and 38, your body can process stress, both physical exhaustion and the cortisol spikes from high pressure work at a rate you will never, ever see again.
Right.
You can work a 12-hour day, sleep for 5 hours, and do it again the next day with, 95% efficiency.
This is the pulling an all-nighter phase.
Exactly. The source points out that during this window, you can fail at a business venture, go broke, and physically survive on instant noodles for 6 months to fund a course or a startup. Your body won't collapse.
But if you try that instant noodle startup diet at 45,
You're looking at hypertension, ulcers, and a doctor's visit. At minimum. Precisely. The biological cost of hustling doubles, maybe triples, once you cross that threshold. But there's another layer here the source touches on, which I found even more compelling. Neuroplasticity.
the brain's ability to rewire itself.
Right. In this window, your brain is still malleable enough to pivot. You can go from marketing to coding or from engineering to sales and just absorb these complex new systems so rapidly.
And later in life.
Later in life, that friction increases significantly. So the golden window is an efficiency argument. You can do it later, but the energy required to get the same result is, well, it's exponentially higher.
So biology is the hardware limitation, but the source places even more emphasis on the software, the social component. This is the part that really struck me because it's something we all feel but rarely, articulate.
Forgiveness factor.
Yes, exactly.
That's a crucial concept. The source argues that society views a 25-year-old making a mistake very, very differently than a 38-year-old making the same mistake.
Right. If you're 25 and you quit your job to backpack through Southeast Asia for a year, or you try to launch some terrible app and fail, well, what does society call that?
Exploration.
Exploration. You're finding yourself. It's seen as a necessary part of your growth arc.
People want to help you. Mentors want to guide you because you are labeled high potential. But the source warns that this goodwill has a strict expiration date.
And somewhere around 35.
The label shifts. You go from exploring to lost.
That's a harsh pivot.
It is. If you're broke at 25, you're scrappy and ambitious. If you are broke at 38, you are viewed as a liability. The world stops opening doors to see what you might do and starts closing them because you haven't done anything yet.
The potential label just falls off.
It falls off, and you are left only with your results.
And this leads us directly into the time perception trap, because I think this is where most of us, especially in our 20s, get completely stuck. When you're 23, 15 years feels like a geological era.
It feels infinite.
Infinite.
That is the fundamental cognitive error. The source uses a really sharp analogy here to shatter that illusion. It says, look back at how fast the time went from your first day of kindergarten to your high school graduation.
Okay.
That blur of time, that is the exact duration of your golden window.
Wow. Put that way, it's a blink.
It's a blink, and yet the cultural narrative for people in that window is the opposite of urgency. It's YOLO.
You only live once.
Take it easy. Don't rush into the rat race. Treat your 20s like an extended adolescence.
And the source attacks that narrative with a sledgehammer. It identifies the YOLO lifestyle, the traveling, the binge-watching series, the gaming to relieve stress, not as freedom, but as theft.
Theft is the right word.
Yeah.
But specifically, it's the theft of warmth. The source uses this haunting analogy. It says, treating your 20s as a vacation is like burning a match in the middle of a winter night.
Let's unpack that imagery because it's poetic but also pretty grim.
Okay, so think about the environment. Life, by default, is difficult. It is cold. It is expensive. That's the winter night. You are holding a match that represents the energy and opportunity of your youth. You light it. For 10 seconds, you have this beautiful flickering warmth. It feels amazing. That's your 20s spent partying or drifting.
But a match burns out.
Instantly. And once it's gone, you are left to survive the rest of the night, 40, 50 years, in absolute darkness and cold. The argument is that the energy of your 20s and 30s is meant to build the furnace and the shelter that protects you in your 50s and 60s.
Not for immediate pleasure.
If you consume that energy for immediate pleasure, you arrive at middle age, completely exposed to the elements.
I can hear a listener right now screaming at their device, though. Wait a minute, that's too linear. What about the late bloomers?
Ah, yeah.
We love those stories. Colonel Sanders starting KFC in his 60s, Morgan Freeman getting his big break later in life. We have a whole cultural mythology built around that idea.
We do. And the source anticipates that objection and it absolutely crushes it. It calls those stories mental opium.
Mental opium. That is a cynical way to frame hope.
Is it hope or is it a sedative? That's the question the source poses. It argues that we cling to the story of the 0.01% outlier to excuse the inaction of the 99%.
So for every Colonel Sanders,
there are 10 million people who hit age 60 broke and never recovered. The source is saying, basing your life strategy on being a statistical anomaly is not optimism. It's just gambling.
So for the vast majority of us, the 99%, the trajectory is path dependent.
Exactly. Where you end up at 40 depends almost entirely on the compound interest of the decisions you made at 25. If you haven't bought your ticket to the game, meaning established a marketable skill set and a financial baseline by 35, the source says the ticket window is closed.
You can't just show up later and expect a seat.
Nope. Game's already started.
There is another dimension to this that moves away from the cold career logic and into something much more visceral. The source pivots to the parental tax. And honestly, this was the part that made me just stop and stare at the wall for a minute.
It's the emotional core of the entire argument. It challenges the definition of freedom. We tend to think, hey, if I want to be broke and surf couches in my 20s, that's my choice. I'm only hurting myself.
But the source says, no, you are not. You are billing your parents.
It operates on the idea that resources in a family unit are finite. If you are 28 and finding yourself failing to launch, who is absorbing the risk?
It's your parents.
Usually it's the parents. They are delaying retirement. They are working longer hours. They are hiding their own health issues so as not to burden you while you're figuring things out.
The source paints a very specific nightmare scenario here to illustrate this. It's the hospital bed scene.
Right. This is where the abstract concept of money becomes very, very concrete. Imagine you are over 30. You've drifted. You have no savings. Then your parent has a medical crisis. The source describes the hospital as the loneliest place in the world when you are poor.
It talked about the look in the parents' eyes. That was the detail that really got me.
That's the killer. It notes that the look isn't anger. If they were yelling at you, "Why are you broke?" You could probably handle that defensively. It's a look of fatigue. It's resignation. They are in pain, they are scared, and they look at you and realize, my child cannot help me.
They realize they are still the ones who have to worry, even on their deathbed.
Exactly. And this leads to the source's definition of a good man. It strips away all the modern fluff personality, hobbies, style, opinions, it says. A decent man is a man who can protect the people who sacrificed for him.
Dignity is the ability to pay the bills.
It's transactional, yes, but the source argues it's foundational.
Yeah.
If you cannot write the check when your family is in crisis, you have failed your primary biological and social imperative.
Yeah.
All your self-discovery in your 20s becomes a badge of shame in that specific moment.
It's a very stoic, almost Spartan view.
Yeah.
But let's look at the mechanism of failure again. Let's say someone listens to this and says, okay, point taken, but I'm 36. I can still turn it around.
We mentioned the wall earlier. What actually happens in the job market between 35 and 38?
The criteria for value shifts. We touched on this, but let's get technical about the labor market.
Yeah.
Before 35, you are hired on potential. After 35, you are hired on results.
So the trial and error phase is officially over.
You lose the privilege of being a beginner. If you are 38 applying for a junior or mid-level role to start fresh, you aren't just competing against yourself. You're entering a cage match with the 28-year-old.
And the 28-year-old has the advantage.
Every advantage. The 28-year-old is cheaper. They don't have a mortgage or 3 kids, so they can work later for less money. They are culturally more aligned with current trends, and crucially, they are more malleable.
Right.
An employer looks at a 38-year-old entry-level applicant and wonders, what went wrong? Why are they here?
It's a signaling problem.
Yes, it signals a lemon, to use Acolok's economic term. The market assumption is that if you were high quality, you would have been picked up, promoted, and specialized by now. If you're still on the shelf at 38, the market assumed you're damaged goods.
That is bleak. The source calls this invisible failure.
Because it's not a light explosion.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily get fired and end up on the street. You just get marginalized.
How does it look?
You stop getting the invites to the important meetings. You stop getting the calls for collaboration. You watch your peers, the ones who didn't burn their matches in their 20s, buying the houses and the cars, and you are stuck in this land of barrenness.
Now, I want to address the elephant in the room here. A lot of this sounds like hypercapitalism. Make money or die. Is the source just promoting greed? Is this just hustle culture repackaged?
I think that's the easy criticism, but the source actually refutes that pretty strongly. It distinguishes between greed and shielding.
A shield.
It tackles the cliches we always hear, money can't buy happiness, money corrupts, rich people are evil. The source calls these sayings sedatives.
Ah.
These are stories we tell ourselves to feel morally superior about being broke.
Right. I might be poor, but at least I'm authentic.
Exactly. But the source argues that the lack of money is actually what destroys your character.
How so?
Think about autonomy. If you are living paycheck to paycheck, you have no ability to say no. If your boss is abusive, you have to take it. If you see an injustice, you can't speak up because you can't risk your livelihood. Poverty forces you to compromise your values. It forces you to bow your head.
So wealth isn't about buying a Ferrari. It's about buying the right to tell a jerk to get lost.
Money is a barrier that protects your humanity. It allows you to be generous. You can't be a philanthropist with an empty bank account. You can't support your community if you can't feed yourself.
So it's about having options.
The source says money allows you to be the high-minded person you actually want to be. Without it, you are just surviving, and survival is often ugly.
It also briefly mentions financial literacy. It points out the absurdity that we spend 12 years in school learning calculus and history.
And 0 hours learning how to handle a paycheck.
Right. And the rule it gives is surprisingly simple. It's not about earning millions instantly. It's about keeping.
Men don't fail because they can't earn. They fail because they can't keep. That's the quote. It's the whole of consumerism. If you earn $100,000 at age 26, but you spend $100,000 leasing a luxury car and buying drinks for people you don't even like,
You've wasted it.
you have technically wasted the golden window just as much as the guy who didn't work.
Because you didn't build the fortress, you just decorated the tent.
I love that image, yes. You are decorating a tent that is going to blow away in the first storm of your 40s. The goal of the 23 to 38 window is to lay bricks. Boring, heavy, unglamorous bricks that build a wall between you and poverty.
Okay, we are approaching the end of this deep dive, and the source material wraps up with an outro that is pretty uncompromising. It talks about the cold truth of social dynamics as you age.
It removes the safety net entirely. The message is, you are the only person coming to save you.
We hear that a lot, though. Personal responsibility, it's a cliche.
But here is the twist. The source says that society's sympathy has a half-life. If you stumble at 25, people rush to help. Oh, poor kid, tough break. If you stumble at 40 because you refuse to prepare, people don't help. They look away.
They get compassion fatigue.
They get tired of carrying someone who refuses to walk. The source is brutal here. Life has no time for those who refuse to grow up. It's not that people are mean, it's that everyone else is carrying their own heavy load. They can't carry yours too.
So if we pull back and look at this entire manifesto, really, it's not actually about money, is it? It's about time.
It's about the irreversibility of time. That's the scary part. You can get money back, you can recover from bankruptcy, but you can never get your 28th year back. You can never get the energy of that specific year back.
We started this episode talking about that 15-year window. If you are listening to this and you are 23, the gate is just opening. If you are 30, you are halfway across the field. If you are 37...
And the whistle is about to blow.
But, and this is important, the point of this deep dive isn't to make people spiral into depression.
No, it's to induce traction. Panic is useless if it just freezes you.
Yeah.
The goal here is to wake up from the sedation, to stop thinking, I'll do it tomorrow.
It shifts the mindset from consumption to construction.
Exactly. Ask yourself, am I consuming my time or am I constructing my future? Because the time passes either way. You will be 40 regardless of what you do. The only variable is who you are when you arrive there.
So we want to leave you with a challenge today. We've talked about mental opium, the stories and habits we use to numb ourselves to this ticking clock.
The video games, the someday dreams, the spending to impress strangers, all of it.
If this 15-year golden window is real, and the biological and economic data suggests it is, what specific sedative do you need to cut out of your life today? Not next year, today.
What comfort are you willing to sacrifice now so you aren't standing empty-handed in the cold at age 45?
Identify the sedative. Stop taking it, because 38 is coming a lot faster than you think.